guys, it's Christy, and today I'm going to be sharing all of my gift ideas for the writers and readers in your life. So I thought it'd be really fun to share some gift recommendations if you are currently shopping for someone who maybe really loves books, or maybe they're a writer themselves. And no matter what your budget is, I have a lot of ideas for you, so stay tuned. Okay, so before I get into a lot of the bookish goods, I wanted to talk about some things for writers specifically. So the first thing I have is the Writers Market 2019. If you have someone who maybe is just starting out writing, or maybe they don't have a lot of information related to publishing, this is just a really great, I think every writer needs this. Even if you're self-publishing, there's still a lot of really good information in here. It's got information related to making money in your writing, crafting your query letter for sending out to agents. It's got literary agents specifically. It tells you about the agency, it tells you about the agents at the agency, what genres they represent, which is very important information. It gives you website information, contact information, and also it tells you specifically for the agency how they want to be contacted. So if they only accept snail mail, it's going to tell you that, versus if they want you to send the information via email, and it'll tell you how much they want from you. If they want your first 10 pages, if they want your first chapter, it's going to tell you all that information. So it's really, really helpful. And yeah, it has a lot of magazine and writing contest information. So yeah, this book is a really great resource, and it's not very expensive. And then the next thing I have, this one has some post-its and stuff in it because I've been using it, is the Save the Cat Writes a Novel. So there was an original one about screenplay writing, and this is the one that recently came out specifically for novel writing. But this is going to be a really great resource in terms of structuring your novel. So I just think this would be a nice gift for someone if, you know, maybe they have just started out writing, especially if that person hasn't taken a lot of, you know, writing classes or anything like that. This is really going to help them out and going to be a thoughtful gift. It's not super expensive, so, you know, maybe if you wanted to make sort of like a book basket or something like that, this is a really great one to have in there. Another recommendation I have is the On Writing by Stephen King book. It's sort of a memoir, but he also has a lot of information for writers because, you know, he's highly successful and experienced, so he shares his experience and what he's learned about writing. And so I really recommend that book for any writer, or maybe just someone who loves Stephen King and is really interested. I also think a great and thoughtful gift for a writer would be a very nice leather-bound journal. So you can find these everywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Just feeling that thick leather binding just makes you feel so legit. And I just think any writer would really love to have that, especially with like a really nice pen. I don't know, maybe a quill. It's not for everybody, but I think a quill set would be super fun, especially to have on your shelf. It's just like a show-off piece. Whether or not they want to use it is up to them. But I just think, you know, showing that person that you support their writing and that you think it's cool, I just think that's a really nice thought. Another way that you can validate the writer in your life is by getting them a really cool mug. I found this one on Etsy, and it says writer and got like a typewriter. There are so many different options, especially on Etsy, and you can look on Amazon too. There's a lot of options there too. But what writer is not going to enjoy having like an official writer mug that they can drink out of when they're writing? I just think that's so thoughtful and cute. And especially, you know, like maybe you put, like I said, put together some sort of like basket. You can have a mug, you can have some books on writing. I just think that'd be so nice. Maybe some snacks in there that they can eat while they're writing. I just think that'd be so sweet and thoughtful. Okay, so now I'm going to move into some book recommendations for just the general bookish lover. So let's say that you have a higher budget for someone. So I would recommend some new editions of classics that they have in these beautiful bindings, like the Penguin Clothbound Classics or the Puffin in Bloom collection. I think especially if someone is a really big reader, they might have these classics already. You know, maybe they bought them in high school when they first read them or whatever. But, you know, nowadays they've come out with some really interesting looking editions that have really beautiful covers, and so not everyone has those. And so even if they have the classic, I still think they would really enjoy having these new editions in these beautiful covers that they can have on their shelves, because it's not just a book, it's also like decoration, and any book lover is going to really enjoy those. If you can afford it, I think they would really be happy. And then while I'm talking about the new editions of the classics, Barnes & Noble has a great collection of classics, and they have the most beautiful covers. I have several of their classics. This is one of my favorites, most beautiful cover. It's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Look at this cover. It is so beautiful. It's got sort of like a foiled effect you can kind of see. And this back, it says, it's got the Cheshire Cat, and it says, "I've often seen a cat without a grin, but a grin without a cat, it's the most curious thing I ever saw in my life." And even the spine is so beautiful. This would just look really great on a shelf, especially someone who just really loves, you know, Alice in Wonderland or, you know, classics in general. So the Barnes & Noble collection, I think these, and even look at the inside, even the illustrations on the inside are just so beautiful. So yeah, I really recommend the Barnes & Noble collection. And then the next recommendation I have is the Unofficial Harry Potter Cookbook. I think this would be a great gift for someone, and maybe a combo gift for someone who really loves cooking and loves Harry Potter. You can throw those two things together and it is a great gift. So if the person in your life has a favorite TV show, I recommend that you see if there is a companion book for that TV show. I have several of these, like the Sex and the City, Kiss and Tell, and then the Friends Till the End, the one with all 10 years. This is the companion that they came out with after the last season. These kinds of books have a lot of insider information and behind the scenes anecdotes and things, and they're just so fun to flip through. They make great, this is a great size to be a coffee table book also. And I actually love flipping through and reading these. They're not just for decoration or anything. I just think something like this would be really sweet and thoughtful as well, depending on what show they really love and if, you know, if they do have a companion book. But I think that's worth checking into because these are very special. So my next gift recommendation is a Bookish candle. So I have a couple of these that I recently received from the Wick and Fable box. And I'm going to start by saying I don't recommend one of these subscription boxes from these Bookish candle companies, for a couple of different reasons. One, I feel that they take a bit too long to come in, so if you're shopping for the holidays, you might not get it in time. But also, I don't really feel like you get the value for your money. I would say just pick out, you know, maybe one or two that you think your friend or your person would really enjoy. The great thing about Bookish candles is that they're themed around a particular TV show or a book. And so if the person in your life has a love of something in particular, this can really remind them of that and spark joy, and they're just really fun. I lit this Hogsmeade Weekends one recently, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I looked at the wax as it was lit, and it looked like a sunset because the wax is blue and the top of it when it was lit was this beautiful golden color, and it just melted into the blue and it looked like a sunset. Again, I don't know if that was intentional or not, or maybe that was just a coincidence, but it was beautiful. And oh, and the other thing I wanted to say about the wax is that it had little sparkles in it. I do feel like this is a quality candle, and that's why I'm gonna say just don't get the subscription box. I don't think it's worth it, but the candles on their own are very high quality, and if there's a story in particular that the person in your life loves, then I think this would make a great gift. Oh, and at least the Wick and Fable ones, and I think most of the ones that you're gonna find of the Bookish candles are soy candles. There are a ton of companies that sell these Bookish candles, so I'm going to go through a few of the ones that I found and tell you what I like about each of them, so it can hopefully help you make a decision. Okay, so a lot of these companies actually sell their candles on Etsy, and a lot of these recommendations I have are going to be from Etsy specifically. So I just want to say as a disclaimer, Make sure that you're checking the shipping information because usually things sold from Etsy take several weeks to come in. So make sure that you're buying really early. If you are buying for Christmas time, just be aware of the shipping. Also be aware that shipping most of the time is not free, especially on Etsy. So factor that into your budget for sure. So the next bookish candle company that I found is called Fairy Tale Candles. And these are my favorites just in terms of presentation alone. I think that the tins that they come in are beautiful and they have quotes and things on them. The great thing about these is the design in the wax. So these have really cool, unique designs related to the theme. So there were some really cool Vampire Diaries ones, and they had these, you know, drops of blood and stuff. And like for the Salvatore brothers, it had their ring, and they have just some really cool ones. I'll insert some pictures so you can see. I just think that these are so much fun just to look at. I don't know what they smell like because I haven't tried them, but I just was looking at them and I'm like, oh yes, a book lover for sure would love these. Oh, they have this really beautiful one called Always for Snape and Butter Brew. I thought that was awesome. And the same company also sells bookish lip balms, and so I thought that was really cool. They're not super expensive. There was one for like a butter beer, and I'm assuming it's also flavored like butter beer. So yeah, something like that would also be a really good stocking stuffer. And then another company I wanted to shout out was FromthePage. So FromthePage has some really unique candles like Flue Powder, As You Wish from The Princess Bride, a Free Elf, of course, Dobby themed, and 21B Baker Street. I just thought that that was so cool. So another one that I thought was really cool, I found these Jane Austen themed perfumes by Wicked Good Perfume. These would be really great for someone who really loves vegan products, who loves the more natural handmade beauty products, but maybe they're obsessed with Jane Austen. So that would just be really fun. And they come in a spray and a roller ball. And then I also found these bookish necklaces. They're mostly classics. You can pick out a specific classic and it's a little book on a chain, and they're really pretty. But there are some sellers where you can actually give them a cover that you want and they'll print it and put it on the necklace. So you can have a custom necklace. So if the person in your life has a favorite book and you're not able to find it, you can get one of these custom ones. And I think this would be so cool if, I don't know, let's say you had a writer friend that just released a book. I just think that would be so amazing to get that for them as a gift. They would love it. That would be so cool. I know I would. So yeah, I'm gonna link to those shops that I found down below, so you can go check those out. Also, these literary teas by the Literary Tea Company. These are really cool. You can also find these. Wick and Fable has these as well. So if the person in your life loves tea and reading, I think that these are a good combination. I love how a lot of these gifts are combo gifts, you know, so someone who loves tea and reading, or if they love cooking and Harry Potter, you know, I just love how, you know, these things can kind of fuse together, and just, you know, people are so creative. These sellers on Etsy especially are so creative. That's why I love in my spare time just looking on Etsy and looking at cool things. So I also found this company that makes bookish t-shirts, and of course, you know, you see these all the time. Kohl's has some really cool t-shirts like this too, but they had some really unique ones specifically for Once Upon a Time, and they also had some for The Magicians and Vampire Diaries. So yeah, definitely check those out. I'll put that seller down below. And then another idea for a sentimental, thoughtful gift, if you're looking to do something a little bit more DIY, would be to take a quote from maybe that person's favorite book or TV show, whatever it is. Find a really pretty version of it. You can buy, they have ones that you can print that you can buy from Etsy. Or if you're wanting a little bit more DIY, you can make your own. Maybe use a really cool typography app or something, or Photoshop. You can, you know, there's a variety of ways to do this, but you can take the quote, make a really pretty design, print it out, and then put it in a frame. And I guarantee you they will love that. It's gonna be really thoughtful and sweet. So I just have a couple more recommendations. So this next one is a little bit in a different category, but usually writers and readers are, you know, very creative people, and I thought that this one would be really fun. So it is the Happiness Project journal, and it's a 1-sentence journal, a 5-year record. This is actually mine. I've been using it since, I think I got it earlier this, I think I got it early this year. I've been using it since. I love this because, and I'll show you the inside because I don't have anything written. It's got spaces where you can write a sentence for every day of the year for 5 years. So you can compare last year, this day last year against today, and then, you know, for the next 5 years. And so I just think it'll be a really cool record to see where you were at that point in time. I just also think this is a really great exercise in focusing on the highlights of your day, thinking about, even when you're having a bad day, thinking about something really fun that happened, because in 5 years, really, what are you going to want to remember? You know, it forces you to think that way, like, okay, in 5 years, I want to maybe remember what book I was reading at the time, or what TV show I was really into, or, you know, something that made me feel good that day. I just think this is a really nice, sweet gift. And I love it. I think most people would. Another one that's similar to this idea is called the 1 Question a Day journal. And this one's cool because it actually asks you a question and you answer it every day. And I think it's the same idea where you do it for 5 years and so you can compare, but it's, you know, it's if you prefer kind of having a question that you can answer so you're not really having to think of things. It just depends on what your style is. So the last thing I wanted to say is that if the reader in your life seems to have every book imaginable, it could be a really great idea to get them some debuts, because it's less likely that they're going to have those, and there are some really good debuts coming out. The Authortube community has a lot of great debuts coming out right now. Think about getting your friend, you know, one of their debuts, and also I think most people will sign them, and I think that would be really nice too, getting them a debut that's signed by the author. So yeah, if you aren't familiar with all the debuts that are out currently in the Authortube community, I'll list some of them down below for you to check out. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this long video. I hope that it gave you some ideas for the people in your life and maybe for yourself. I know I tend to do the same thing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need that actually. So no judgment here. If you're new here, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.